Hello everybody, I'm Dan Murrell here with my review of Coyote vs. Acme, the Looney Tunes live-action animation hybrid that, in an alternate reality, would be sitting in a vault gathering dust right now. The movie's directed by Dave Green, whose last theatrical feature was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows 10 years ago, and the screenplay is credited to Sammy Birch, an Oscar nominee for co-writing the film May December a few years ago, with a story by Birch, Jeremy Slater, and James Gunn, who's also a credited producer on the movie. Now, Coyote vs. Acme, if you don't know, has had a perilous journey to the big screen. It was shot 4 years ago, originally put on the release calendar for summer 2023, then was pulled by Warner Brothers under the David Zaslav regime, and eventually slated to be shelved forever and written off as a tax loss, never to be seen by anyone. After fan and industry outcry, Warner Brothers changed course and put the film up for sale, and after a long process where it seemed like nobody was going to pay WB's price, distributor Ketchup Entertainment acquired the film for theatrical release. Now, this isn't Ketchup's first trip on the Looney Tunes merry-go-round. They also acquired distribution rights for The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie, after Warner Brothers pulled that film from its planned HBO Max premiere so it could shop it around elsewhere. I generally like to strike a level-headed tone in my reviews here on the channel, so I'll do my best to soften this statement. Having now seen Coyote vs. Acme, I can safely say that any executive who watched this movie and decided that it should be shelved and never shown to anybody is an absolute, total, and utter moron. From now on, David Zaslav should be identified on screen with one of those Latin names like you see in the Roadrunner cartoons. I would suggest something like Executus Incompetus. As you may be able to guess from the title, Coyote vs. Acme features Wile E. Coyote, who, after years of failing to catch the Roadrunner due to faulty Acme products, decides to sue the megacorporation for his pain and suffering. To do this, he hires Kevin Avery, played by Will Forte, a Saul Goodman-type bottom-feeding lawyer who specializes in cases against Acme. But as the scale of the case becomes clear, Kevin ends up taking on something he is wholly unprepared for, facing off against his law school rival, Buddy Crane, played by John Cena. Now, is Coyote vs. Acme a funnier movie if you're a Looney Tunes fan? Well, I'd say sure. As a kid, when I was watching Nickelodeon, the Roadrunner cartoons were always my favorites, and I love the clever spin that this film has on Wile E. Coyote's ultimate losing battle. But this movie's got a lot more going for it than just featuring the cartoon characters you love. It's also a slapstick comedy, a parody, a broad comedy, and a clever satire about corporate culture, which is richly ironic, given that the same corporate culture almost buried this film for good. It also has a lot of dumb jokes. I mean, just so stupid, in the way that the jokes in Airplane are stupid. This is actually my favorite kind of comedy, and I laughed throughout the movie, sometimes at the big broad gags, and sometimes at a line of dialogue or a subtle visual pun. There's a 2-second joke involving a famously problematic character that had me laughing for about a minute afterwards. Just to give you an example of the sort of joke that works for me, at one point Kevin finds Wile E. Coyote waiting for him in his office, hidden behind a large book that he's reading, and the name of the book is How to Wait Dramatically. Now, if that's your kind of humor, then I think you're going to like this movie. Because this is a mix of live action and animation, there are bound to be comparisons between this film and Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is a fantastic movie. But the two films aren't just similar due to the combination of different filmmaking techniques. They also both feature a really entertaining world where humans and cartoons coexist, and it's perfectly normal. There's no Space Jam-esque explanation as to why people are talking to Looney Tunes characters. It's just the way that things are, and seeing our world often forced to play by cartoon rules is, to me, endlessly entertaining. Will Forte is a great choice for the human lead of this movie. He's particularly good at playing characters who are pathetic and somewhat flummoxed, which makes him a great fit for Kevin Avery and the perfect foil for John Cena. Cena has proven to be a surprisingly talented, for me at least, comedic actor, and he actually drives one of the funniest scenes in the movie. It was the scene that made me laugh the most, which is an attempted shakedown of a beloved Looney Tunes character. In addition to Forte and Cena, Lana Condor does a good job as Paige, Kevin's niece and law clerk who appeals to his better nature in fighting for Wile E. Coyote's rights, and PJ Byrne, who I recently praised for playing a great 80s jerk in The End of Oak Street, also plays a great corporate stooge in this movie. Coyote vs. Acme also features a slew of Looney Tunes characters, but most of them aren't just cameos, they're well integrated into the movie. Foghorn Leghorn, for example, is the blowhard, cutthroat CEO of Acme who orders Buddy Crane to make this case go away at all costs, and poor Tweety Bird is an unwilling pawn, forced to do the company's bidding. Most of the iconic Looney Tunes characters, including Foghorn Leghorn, Daffy Duck, and Porky Pig, are voiced in this film by Eric Bauza, who has become the go-to voice artist for Looney Tunes in the last few years. Full disclosure, I met Eric years ago during my Channel 101 days in Los Angeles, and he used to do voice work for our screenings every month, no matter what he was doing, for free, just because he loved what we did. And this was even as his career was taking off. I always found Eric to be not just immensely talented, but also genuinely nice and extremely funny. So it's been great to see him become one of Hollywood's premier voice talents. And his voice, fittingly, was one of the most important ones speaking out when it looked like this movie was going to be shelved for good. The script for Coyote vs. Acme is also genuinely good. It's not just a bare framework to hang a bunch of jokes on. It has a few twists and turns that actually surprised me, and a mystery at the heart of the film that was fun to unravel. It's a movie that delivers jokes and a good story, and was legitimately one of the best times I've had at the movies this year, which makes Warner Brothers' attempt to literally snatch it away from the world to save some money even more infuriating. This is not an expensive disappointment that deserved to disappear forever, as WB has tried to paint Batgirl, but which I now doubt even more. This is a movie that I think will bring joy to a lot of people, especially Looney Tunes fans who have been particularly shafted by the Zaslav regime. Sitting in a theater that was pleasantly full, given that this was a Sunday afternoon advanced screening in Arkansas, I couldn't help but think that every laugh, every joke that worked, every fun moment was something that Warner Brothers actively tried to take away from the public. They literally tried to steal happiness, like a bunch of country club Grinches. And putting the quality of the film aside, I'm so happy that Coyote vs. Acme is getting released because it puts a huge spotlight on just who it is that's running these major studios. The ones at the very top, the ones who decide to do things like shelving completed movies for a tax write-off. I sincerely wonder if Zaslav even bothered to watch Coyote vs. Acme before deciding to shelve it. And honestly, it would almost be better if he hadn't. One of the great unintended ironies of this film is that completely accidentally, a movie about the deviousness of a major corporation has become the shining example of the deviousness of a major studio. Its tangible existence is solely due to the little people, the fans that this movie is dedicated to, who caused so much noise that Warner Brothers had no choice but to backtrack. And even then, they wanted so much money for this movie that it almost got shelved anyway. Now, I make my recommendations here on the channel based solely on how much I like a film. And honestly, I was already debating whether this should be in the upper range of the It's Good category or bumped up to a See It Now. But for the first time, I'm allowing something external to nudge my rating up just a little bit, because the truth is, every dollar that Coyote vs. Acme makes in theaters is a poke to David Zaslav's ribs. I would like nothing more than for this movie to be a massive hit and be embraced by audience, because it would become not just a really fun movie, but Exhibit A, proving that these revered Hollywood studios, these venerated institutions, are progressively being taken over by a bunch of penny-pinching, no-talent, creatively bankrupt, artistically ignorant, clueless, feckless, shameless, joyless, and generally incompetent CEOs who'd happily lock the best movie of all time away in a vault if it would save them an extra nickel. So now the movie-going public has an opportunity to clap back in the only language that these smarmy, job-cutting doofuses actually understand: money. So on my personal scale, I'm giving Coyote vs. Acme a See It Now, not just because it's an incredibly funny, entertaining movie, but because buying a ticket is also a big middle finger pointed at just how so many studio executives are choosing to run Hollywood these days. Maybe it's a futile gesture, but if Wile E. Coyote has taught us anything, it's that even if you fall flat on your face, there's a nobility in scraping yourself up off the pavement, strapping a big magnet to your back, and hoping that this time you'll beat the odds. So those are my thoughts on Coyote vs. Acme, and by default, Warner Brothers. But what do you think? Are you excited for the film? Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, stay tuned right here for the latest in movie news, reviews, box office, and more. Until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you then. Bye.